I think it's interesting that some aspects of conservative religion fit in very well with what are generally called kinky sex activities. Okay, um, there are some passages in the Bible that have been interpreted as instituting patriarchy. Now, I'm not a Bible scholar, but I do know that there are also people who believe that the Bible is egalitarian. And, you know, I don't know. And I do think we always have to keep cultural context in, in mind when we interpret something that was written thousands of years ago or any time ago. But anyway, it is interesting that conservative Christianity has a kind of punitive aspect, and that fits in very neatly with BDSM. Um, if you're going to pound on the verse that supposedly tells wives to submit to their husbands, and there are, and whether it says that or not, we don't really know. I've actually seen people who say that in the original Greek, it actually makes sense to translate it to your husbands as to the Lord, but without a verb, there's no complete sentence in English, or that it could say deploy for your husbands or something like that. But submit is the word that is usually used. Submit and obey are very highly charged words. There are also words that fit in very well with masochism. And domination and submission, is kind of part of conservative sex roles. Now, some of them would say, well, we don't really mean that. But whether they mean that or not, it fits in well. Under my pen name, Rachel Heath, I've written 3 Christian domestic discipline novellas that have been published in ebook form. Will and Trish actually grew out of a short story I wrote about a young man, very handsome, debonair young man who is determined to remain a virgin until he marries. And he spanks his girlfriend for trying to seduce him. And that eventually became the novella Will and Trish, a domestic discipline romance. I also wrote another one called Grant and Deidre, a domestic discipline romance. And then there's Vince and Sheila, a domestic discipline romance. All 3 of these are about couples who take seriously the idea of wives submitting to their husbands. And they believe that does include discipline, which is, of course, spanking. Now, there are many people who practice Christian domestic discipline who say that there's no sexual enjoyment on the either part when the husband spanks the wife. And that could very well be true. There are also some who frankly acknowledge that, yes, they do get sexually aroused. And they think that that is part of God's plan for men and women, is that the both parties, and particularly the woman, get sexually aroused when she gets a spanking, or when she submits to her husband, which they do include submission through spanking. Now, what I really want to do with this video is encourage somebody to read Will and Trish, Grant and Deidre, and Vince and Sheila, domestic discipline romances that are based on patriarchal interpretations of the Bible, and include a lot of spanking. And I hope you will read one of those books, those ebooks. Bye.